Recently, an incredible horsemanship symposium was held in the beautiful rolling hills of Santa Ynez, California, at Intrepid Farms, a well-known Morgan horse ranch hosted by Arthur Perry, where a little magic took place one weekend. And the concept of a birth to maturity program known as Light Hands Horsemanship was presented and demonstrated for an enthusiastic crowd of long-term horse owners. Sponsored by Spalding Labs, the event brought four of the most widely respected horsemen together to share their insight and knowledge for the benefit of improving people's riding, communication, and relationship skills with their horses. The principals of the symposium are all accomplished masters of their craft, and included Dr. Robert Miller, a now retired veterinarian and author, whose research, studies, and observations led him to the discovery and conclusion that newborn foals have an immediate and profound ability to learn in their first few hours after birth, which in turn led Dr. Miller to develop a training and learning procedure we know called imprinting. He will present a fascinating look at imprinting and the remarkable effect it has had on the lifelong learning process of the young horse.
Once the foal is sitting down, you pick up their feet and fold their legs and they'll automatically relax.
Okay, one of the central themes of this natural horsemanship revolution is that horses are best trained using persuasive methods rather than coercive, forceful methods. And so the idea of light hand signals, light hand on the reins, persuading the horse to do what we want it to do, and the horse thinking it's his idea, rather than forcing to do it with physical force.
Jon Ensign, an accomplished Montana horseman, has spent his entire life working with horses. To Jon, the horse is an amazing animal, smart, sensitive, so forgiving, and yet they're so often mistreated and misunderstood. He's dedicated himself and his methods to really improving their lives. His goal is to take his experience and knowledge and help horse and rider successfully communicate with each other. The ultimate objective being a mutual partnership in which both truly enjoy, understand, and trust each other.
The first handshake for anybody is very important. If I walked up to you and gave you a pretty weak handshake, you might not think a whole lot. It's for first impression. And I really try to give my horse the best impression I can, or the first handshake that I can give them needs to be a very accurate handshake in the nicest manner I possibly can. It can really affect the training later on down the road if they don't get that correct exposure to start with.
Lester Buckley grew up in the historic cattle country of North Texas. While training horses during college, he met Ray Hunt, renowned horseman and clinician, which laid the foundation of all his future horsemanship. Lester trained horses for two of the largest ranches in the world, the King Ranch of Texas and the Parker Ranch in Hawaii. Intrigued with the precision and art of the classical horsemanship, Lester decided to study the fine art of dressage and sport jumping. His travels led him to Germany, where many of our Olympians train. The equestrian school in Germany invites him to offer clinics at the school, teaching groundwork, basic and advanced Western riding, as well as problem solving. With broad theoretical knowledge and his varied riding and training experience, he offers a well-rounded understanding of the nature of the horse and its training.
There was a famous horseman that said, "Light hands are the hands that have never felt the bars of a horse's mouth." Wow, that's a pretty impressive statement. But I think to do that, you have to be compassionate towards the horse. And I think the benefits, I could go on forever, but I think obviously the top benefits are safety for the rider, safety for the horse.
Eitan Beth-Halachmy. As a young boy in Israel, the first time he saw a Western on the silver screen, he knew where he had to go and what he wanted to be. It's been a long journey full of adventure, triumphs, and the occasional setbacks. But throughout it, there have always been horses in his life. Eitan feels that in his life he's had the best of both worlds. His early education in horsemanship was of the classical nature, with lots of discipline and dressage. taught by a Hungarian cavalry officer. He was one of the big influences in his life. The other was the American cowboy. Eitan has merged the discipline of dressage with the pleasure of Western riding in what he created and developed a successful program called Cowboy Dressage. It is Eitan's goal to teach and share with others what his horses have taught him about life and about being a horseman.
Don't use your hands to control the horse. Use your legs, use your seat, and allow your hand to direct the horse and tell him where you want him to go. In the next 2 days, we're going to talk about light hands. You're going to watch my hands. I'm going to watch your hands. I'm going to explain to you why light-handed is so important, okay, of controlling the horse.
One of the things that they all have in common and will stress in their presentations is the use and development of lightness. Lightness is their cornerstone. It is what all 4 clinicians strive for. From their first touch through advanced training, you will see lightness from the handheld touch of a lead line to the hand and rein communication of the advanced horse and rider. Masters of subtlety, soft hands, and quiet methods of Western, English, and classical horsemanship, they will demonstrate on elegant horses how to achieve complete respect and compliance without producing fear in the horse. This event will inspire you and help you to achieve oneness with the horse.
Predation. Horses are not afraid of predators. Everybody thinks in terms of they're afraid of predators. They're afraid of predatory behavior. And it's not the same thing.
Dr. Robert Miller presented a fascinating look at the importance of lightness in the young foal, beginning with a profound discovery on his part. As humans, we tend to apply the world we know to the world of our horses. We tend to believe that our young don't seriously begin their retained learning experiences until they're several years old. But for the horse, the impressions they receive at the moment of birth have a profound impact on their behavior as they grow. His discovery, which we now identify as imprint training, was shown to the audience on several conclusive videos.
Most important, the optimum learning times, what are called critical learning periods. Every creature has early in life critical learning times when information is absorbed almost instantly. And in a puppy, that's between 6 and 16 weeks of age. Those are the periods of socialization. These are the periods when they learn how to behave the rest of their life. In children, which is a very long period of development because we live longer than any other mammal, only whales and elephants live as long as people. So our developmental period is very long, probably 1 to 5 years of age are our critical learning times when we learn speech. We can learn 5, 6 languages simultaneously without any foreign accent. Can't do that after you're full grown. We learn our sense of values, or we used to. We learn most of the things we need to know in life should be learned before the 5th age. And that's so very, very true. Well, in horses, they're precocial. And their critical learning times started at birth and even before prenatally, and they last a matter of hours, days, weeks at very, very most. Now that's hard for us to understand because we know that our babies are pretty helpless and not capable of learning too much. And so we've applied this traditionally to the horse and said, well, it's just a little baby, it can't learn anything. You can't teach it anything. But we didn't understand that they're a precocial species, and their most powerful learning time is in the hours, the first day or two that they're alive. And they can absorb information they will never, ever forget. In 1959, my 3rd year of practice, I had a busy obstetrical week, and I had 3 foals in 1 week that had dystocias. That is the foal coming out the wrong way. And I have to, and this is very hard physical work. You've got to push that foal back in, turn it around, and bring it out the proper way. So that it's a lot of physical work, and it takes a lot of time. So there's a lot of handling of that foal while it's still in the uterus, and deliver those foals. Now, when you have to get up in the middle of the night and go out and do a case like that, first of all, you don't immediately leave when you get the foal out. You're going to towel the foal off, and you're going to examine the foal and do the postpartum thing, and then probably wait till it's on its feet. And so you're with it. You're with that foal a lot and handling it a lot. Well, those foals, and you don't forget those foals. You remember those. Those foals, when I came back to see them at 40 days, 2 months, and 4 months of age, they knew me. 2 of them came to me. They recognized me. They remembered me, and they were unafraid of me. And I was aware of the imprinting phenomenon in birds with the work that was done by Austrian scientists in the 30s, Konrad Lorenz. He had worked with geese, and he had shown if you hatch them in an incubator and the first thing they see is you, they will attach to you, just like they would attach to their mother. It's what they see moving around is what they attach to, they trust, and want to follow. He called it Prägungs, imprinting. And that term stuck. Now, that term does not mean training. People misuse this term. It doesn't mean training foals. I'm imprint training a foal. I have a 3-month-old foal, I'm imprinting it. No, you can't. Imprinting can only occur in the hours after birth. And they'll imprint on whatever they see moving. Now, in nature, that's going to be the mare and the members of the band a little while later. But in domestication, it may be a human. It may not even be something alive. I've seen foals imprinted on manure cart that was wheeled past a newborn foal, and on a tractor. In Argentina, I saw a foal, 4-month-old, that was imprinted on a tractor, and it could tell that tractor from the other tractors by the different sound in the engine. You know how your dog recognizes the sound of your car? Well, horses can do that. So that's what imprinting is about. So I had a mare that was due to foal, and I decided to do something with some apprehension. Rather than minimizing the handling of that foal, I decided to maximize it. And I spent about 2 hours working with that foal. And the next day, I knew I was on to something. Now, while this training of the newborn foal is easy to do, and anybody can learn to do it, it's very important that it be done correctly, because if you do the wrong thing, the learning is so immediate and so lasting that you can create permanent problems. It's very important that anybody does this understand what they're doing. This is not a question of just petting the foal. This is an elaborate, ritualized training procedure, and it must be done correctly. And I urge you to learn to do it properly before you try it, because if you make mistakes, you can spoil the foal. This is a Secretariat foal. I believe that the best time to begin imprint training is the moment the foal is born. And now I'm going to start the imprint training on this newborn foal that has not yet ever been on its feet. Repetitiously rubbing and handling every part of its body, desensitizing it. The brain is a computer, and during this imprinting period, this first 45 minutes after birth, it's especially receptive. The current is on, the computer is ready to be programmed, and the things that occur during this imprinting period are permanent. They're permanently programmed into the brain of the foal. This foal will know me as an individual. I can come back in several weeks. This foal will remember me and know me, just as it knows it's Dan. It is being desensitized to stimuli. And this foal, which is a wary and suspicious creature that in order to defend itself in the wild state must be able to run away from any frightening stimulus. This foal is being desensitized to these normally frightening stimuli, and it will not fear them in the future, even if they're not repeated for a long, long time. I'm desensitizing every part of the body surface between the legs, under the tail, the bottoms of the feet. We should also desensitize every body opening. That little computer mind has been programmed with all these things, and you won't erase it.
Well, do Dr. Miller's theories work? Well, we're going to now look at two yearling foals, one that's been imprinted and the other one not. Now, this is the one that has not been imprinted. You can probably tell by the way it's already moving around. Now, what I'm going to try and do is grab the lead, that is if I can, and then when I do grab the lead, I'm going to see what happens. What I've got to watch here is if this horse spins round and points its rear end at me, I could get kicked and, for that matter, seriously injured. Come on. Well, now I've got the lead. Let's just see what happens. By the way, I only got the lead because I was looking out there to where it might escape. Now watch when I try to touch the face. Look at this. The horse, justifiably enough, is terrified. Now if I push this too far, the horse might strike out and we could get problems. So this is about as good as you get if a horse hasn't been imprinted with just being let run around the paddock after it's born. Just terrified for human contact. Now the little girl in this stable has had about the same amount of handling over the period as the other one, but this one was imprinted shortly after birth in that 2-hour period. Now let's just see the difference. Hello? Now, I have the lead. Let's just see whether she'll, without even putting any weight on the lead, she's following me. This is an incredible difference. This animal actually likes people. And there's the difference, that shortly after birth, she bonded to people much as she would bond to her mother. So that for her entire life, she will regard people as part of her herd. Now, this is a huge breakthrough. This is probably the biggest single breakthrough in horse training this century, and maybe the biggest breakthrough of all time.
Jon Ensign picked up the reins in the next session with his topic, Learning Begins on the Ground, starting under the saddle and the first ride. Jon's philosophy is that the impressions you make with the horse early on have a lasting impression on your relationship, and that taking one's time in training is critically important.
I need a leadership role in here with my horse. You can see he's looking outside the round pen. He's really kind of ignoring what I'm doing here, not really paying attention. But I need to get that leadership role going before I ever get my horse caught. If I force my horse to get caught, then I'm probably going to have to force the rest of my ride on him. I like to start with that before I even walk into a stall or walk into a round pen. I like to try to get that leadership going there. That was a little bit better over there. I'm trying to look for some subtle changes. I don't need to get him going around in here and get him real hot and bothered in here. He's got shoes on and we're on grass. It's fairly slick, so I need to try to keep things pretty low, as low as possible for his safety. When he turns his head away from me there a little bit, I might try to just put a little energy in my lead rope, or I might even move towards him just a little bit here. Get him to notice that. I want him to start to pay attention to me. That was a little bit better there. And what I'm looking for right here is I'm looking at his ears and I'm looking at his eye. This right eye. There we go. There was a big change right there. And he doesn't need to trot around in here, but if he needs to, he can. I won't stop that. But one thing you'll always see me do before I saddle a horse the first time is saddle a horse pretty sloppy. Okay? If the little boy or little girl got on this horse and maybe you gave them too much of a boost and they fell off the other side, that's the result that I want to have right there. Okay? I've seen a lot of horses kick people when they've fallen off. So I really try hard to come up with any possible thing that I can do to get a horse desensitized to whatever I'm going to do. And like I said, I really want to ride gentle horses. My dog might get back there. I don't know. I'm gonna walk back there. I sure don't want to get kicked. I'd be disappointed if I saw somebody saddle a horse like that and be real sloppy. I find it's pretty disrespectful to a horse. If I see a lot of people saddle their horse, they throw the stirrup up over the seat of their saddle and do this and take the stirrup and flop it down, and their cinches aren't tied up and they flop them down. That's a lot for a horse to handle. Okay, so you'll see when I saddle this horse up here in a minute that it'll be polite. I try to saddle him up like I'd put my hat on in the morning. I try not to smash it down on my head. Disengage these hinds right here and we'll ask for a backup. Right there I asked 2 or 3 times and got no results, so I firmed up just a little bit so he knew there was a meaning behind that. We'll try that again. I'm going to ask soft. And I'll firm up. Okay, I don't start firm. I start soft and add to it. Start soft here or there. He was trying to think about what happened before just what happened. There. If I was firm with him every time I asked him, he'd be really dull. And I'd have to even be firmer to get it. But what I want him to think about, when I raised my hand right there, it had a meaning, because what he remembers is me raise that hand and all of a sudden something firm came. Okay, so when I raise this hand up, he knows there's something to follow that up with. If he acts adversely while I do this, if I were to jump up and down right here and he were to leave, you can see I got a hold of my saddle horn right here. And I have a hold, my hand's cupped over his mane. I'm not pulling on mane, but my hand's cupped over it, to where I'd like to try to go with him. If I were to jump up and down and he were to leave, and I just step back, he just realized he can get away from me. So if I jump up and down and I let him go, pretty quick I'm going to get him in the habit that all I got to do when I move over here, he just sells out on me and leaves. So I would try, if he were to move, I'd try to, just like that right there. I'll just stay right here. And I'm not going to do any more than this right here. If I can reach out there and touch him, that'd be good. But you can see I have control of that head, which goes to these hind quarters. So we found a little spot to work on there. That's good. I needed the exercise anyways. As soon as he stops, the first thing I do is get all over him with my hands if I can. We'll try it again. I'll attempt to back up on my horse on the first ride. I have my horse in a learning frame of mind here, so I'll sure attempt anything I possibly can. But I want to disengage those hindquarters in my bend, and I'll pick up and see if I can get that step right there. That's my first backup step. And if I was riding a horse for the very first time right there, I might just get off of him and go put him away. And tomorrow I might ask for that step and maybe one more. But what it does is it sure beats me sitting here doing this, getting my horse dull, either on his nose or on his mouth. I'll show you that on this other side here. I'll disengage these hindquarters to the right. Right there. And I can just slightly pick up on both reins and slightly, if I can just get them to rock the way back, that's enough for me.
Between sessions, guests could enjoy the many vendors who came to support the symposium and offer exceptional quality equipment and merchandise. Everything from videos, books and learning materials, to saddles, vaquero gear, equine accessories, custom-made boots, bronze sculptures, handmade jewelry, video and TV production services, and just about anything for the horse and rider were available. To feed the hungry guests, a chuck wagon crew came all the way from New Mexico to provide some of the finest meals this side of the Continental Divide. At the end of a long day, guests were treated to some excellent entertainment, including cowboy singer and entertainer Jerry Skelly Scullinger.
Hi, 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 Kitty. Shades of red and blue, aye, aye, aye. Katie, whatever became of the Navajo rug and you? Katie, shades of red and blue. Where to go but I'll find just where the trail will wind, drifting along with the tumbling tumbleweeds. I know.
Lauren LaRue, cowgirl poetess.
Plainly divine was the back of my little bay horse. Now, my folks' spread was pure work. Lord knows I helped when I could, but some days my gut said the workin' could wait. So I'd slip away while the gettin' was good, to my mare waitin' by the back 40 gate.
And child musician phenomenon Sidney Cheong. After seeing the value of light hands with both the foal and starting the young horse, Lester Buckley presented for the attendees his topic, The Next Level, Cross-Training of Disciplines, and the Benefits for Horse and Rider. Very often people have a singular focus on either English or Western riding, but guests were able to see and understand the value of cross-training in both dressage and Western riding disciplines.
Driving aids, my driving aids start with my mind. Everything starts with my mind. To me, the ultimate goal of my riding is what I call throughness. Whatever I think comes through his feet. That's where I want to end up. And you'll even see Eitan get a lot closer to that today than what I will. But I want to remove as much tension as possible from my body so that my thought, whether it's a flying lead change or a stop or a flexion to the left or a flexion to the right, whatever it is, I want them to learn through my consistent application of aids to follow that. And then I always ask my horse if I can do a sitting trot. When I was young and growing up, most of us guys that would do ranch work would get on our horses and take a deep seat, like I just took a deep seat right there. And within 2 rides, you can see he's listening to my weight and driving aids because I didn't touch his mouth, all right? to me, that's where the light contact for me comes in. It comes from my weight and driving aids. My driving aids basically start right here in my gut. They start in my mind, but physically, my stomach muscles, back muscles, hip flexors, thighs, calves, spurs, all those are driving aids. My weight aids can be here, they can be here, they can be back, they can be a little to the left, a little to the right, they can be straight forward. So what he's doing is he's saying, well, you know, he hasn't asked me to go anywhere with a consistent set of aids, so I'll just sit here all day. Well, to me, he's waiting on my leadership. He's licking his lips, he's happy, right? We'll probably ride this colt without a bridle, and I'm almost positive he's never been ridden without a bridle because he's predominantly been ridden English. But this is what the Western sport can bring to the English horse. That's kind of, to me, the essence of the light hands, is my hands are really the third set of aids for me. First is my weight, then my driving aids, then my hands. If I need, I have auxiliary aids I can use too. Voice, whip, spurs, those things all come later. But I ride in the same order every time. First I think it, then proprioceptively I look at it, let my body flow through my horse's feet, my horse feels it, and now I'm going to think about walking, and so I'll shift my weight a little bit, allow some driving aids, and he goes, okay, we're walking. I didn't say trot, right? So walk is all I should get. But I'm just going to see what I can do maybe without a bridle. Everybody's like, oh God, please don't take off the bridle. You know. But any horse can have bad days and accidents. Now right here, see, I'm leaning forward to unbuckle my bridle. My wife's going, bad idea, don't do it. You know, be safe, be safe. But I want to play with the horse and see what we can and can't do. And and the only reason I do it is because it's play, it's fun. If I get hurt, that's 18 broken bones, okay? So now I'm just gonna ask him, with my weight and driving aids, let's go somewhere. Right here, I'll bend him to the right with my right leg, and I know this is all new to him, so I'm not gonna guarantee you what's gonna happen. Now, if he starts to drift in away from the people and away from the signs, what I'm gonna do is use my inside leg up towards the cinch and see if I can't put my weight here and get a little lateral movement to the left. Everybody see that? That was very nice, right? How much contact did I have to do that? None. I have no reins. That's how much contact. So I'm gonna let him come to the inside again, and then I'm gonna shift my weight a little to the outside and use my inside driving leg, and every time he gives me a diagonal step, I take my leg off. Now this is his natural balance right here at a walk. Now I'm gonna brag on him a little bit, but I have to be careful when I brag on him that I don't change my weight and driving aids so much that he says, oh, come in? See, because I can reach down and brag on him and he says, oh, you said come in with your weight and driving aids. Now I'll see if I can't push his hip over here with my driving aid and bend his nose over here. So that's the beginning of my turn, right? That's the beginning of my turn, but it starts in my mind and then it comes through his feet. Now if I still want him to go to the left and he's thinking to the right, I may have to get a little busier here with my leg to have that mind come over to the left. That's why John and I were talking yesterday about how important it is on babies to use one leg. Later, now here he's starting to drift in, so I'm gonna say, how can I get him back out here? So I'm gonna shift my weight a little out, and look, now I'm working my way back out. Now I'm gonna move the hip over, let the front end come in here. So I opened the door for the front end. Now I'm gonna close the door for the front end and see if I can't shift it back over here a little. But you can see his legs moving diagonally to the right, right? And that's my weight and driving aids. It's no rein aids. Now I'm gonna say, okay, let's go back here across the middle. And so I'll just set it up. He's gotta find it. And so I'm gonna start pushing that left hind leg up underneath him again. And then I'm gonna look in here, let my shoulders rotate in here and see if I can't, there. Now I'm gonna reward that by taking my leg off. But see, I just fix it up, let him find it. And when we first started, now he's gonna say, how about if we just stop? Now he asked, and then with my leadership and my weight and driving aids, I said, okay, we'll stop right here. He asked if we could work this thing down into a smaller circle, and then I said, let that idea that's almost in his mind, I'm gonna offer it, and he's gonna say, hey, we're gonna stop together. There are some horses that have been bred for so long, hundreds and hundreds of years, to be these super high achieving horses, And I will occasionally have a horse behind the vertical, but it's not for a physical change in my horse. It's for a behavioral change in my horse. There are some horses that are so strong-willed, they will win first place a lot, but they're so strong-willed that sometimes they will challenge your authority and they will challenge your leadership. And this is one of the things that I can do to get my horse submissive when I'm on them, is get them behind the vertical for a little bit. But I don't want to spend a lot of time riding there, because then I start to develop some funky things in my horse's body that I don't want long term. Instead of having a real flexible pole, atlas and axis joints, he'll actually get a real flexible second, third, fourth vertebrae. And I'm not really looking for that. I'm looking for the axis atlas joints to be flexible. I'm looking for this muscle to be really strong. I'm looking for this muscle that's tied in to the withers here that goes through the top of his neck to get strong, and this inside neck muscle to get strong so that he can learn to self-carry my weight. And so I'm going to ride him forward, and then I'm going to have contact from time to time too. Western horses and English horses. But I think everybody can understand now, because of what we saw in the round pen, that even though I've got my bridle on, what are my dominant aids? I will hold the reins different with an English horse. With the Western horses, I'm holding them more in my fingertips. If I clench my fist, and there's a picture of Bob somewhere that I have with his fist clenched like this and the finger over him, it's a real barbaric grip on my horse's mouth, and I can't be light. But what I can do is I can just take the friction of those reins between my fingers, drive my horse into that, and then slowly close the top fingers and cup my thumbs on top of the reins. And then I don't have slack in the reins, but I also don't have a tight grip on my horse's mouth. And so what I'll try to do is drive him from behind into my hands and still have contact up here, but it's a light contact. And so Mary's got a picture at home, and it's this hand position right here, but instead of the reins, I've got a live little saffron finch in my hand, a little bird. That's how I hold the reins, like I've got a little bird in my hands. If I turn loose of the reins with my English horse, the bird flies away, right? If I grip too tight, then I kill the bird. So what I want to do is I want to have contact with my English horse. This is a little bit too much, so I'll drive. But what I want to do is I want to have some contact, because as I start to do higher collected maneuvers, I need that. So I just close my hands, rest my thumbs lightly on top of the reins, and it's a very light grip. If I had that little bird in my hand right now, he would be totally comfortable. It's that light. So I can still have my reins short enough to where they're not springy and they're not tight. That was my fault there. But they're collected.
Coming full circle in the lifelong philosophy of light hands horsemanship was Eitan Beth-Halachmy, who presented his topic of refinement and training of the advanced horse. Training never ends. It is a long-term commitment to both the horse and the rider to continually refine the communications process.
I start by saying to you people is that light hand horsemanship has one more than one translation to it. And I think that you probably be recognized it by now that to come to Santa Barbara, you can fly, you can drive, you can go in so many different ways. It's the same thing, it's in a horsemanship, in training horses. It's not necessary that you stick to one way or one method. As long as the final destination, okay, it's going to be what you're really looking for and how to get there. So what you're going to see here now, it's probably complete opposite of what you saw in the last 2 days. And it's not opposite of what I'm doing, but it's maybe opposite to the way I say it, the way I explain it, and maybe the way I'm getting there, okay? But by the end of my session, I bet you can appreciate that I'm matching the same route that John and Luster and Dr. Miller were talking about. So be patient, I probably talk less and show more. And I start by saying that I never step or never commit myself in a stirrup of the saddle if I know that I doubt my control, my gears, my brakes, my whatever it is, okay? Gotta be in a position that in case something happens, I do have control. Now, how you get control? The simple way to do that is you look at the horse and you say, okay, I divide it in 3 different parts. Everything from the ears to the horn, I call it in front of the saddle. From here to here will be what the part I'm sitting on, and that's under the saddle. From here, from the loin to the tail is what left behind, which is the haunches. And every one of those parts I control in a different part of my body. Different cues, different signal, different of everything, my weight, my legs, my hands. For example, everything from here to here, I control with my rein. I never turn my horse with my legs. And you know, we all used to do that. You want to go to the left, you bump your outside leg. Remember that? Go left, bump the right. Go right, bump the left. And really what happened that every time you bump, you're messing your body balance or the balance of the horse. When you bump your leg, what you really do, you're rotating the spine of the horse, which moves the rib cage away from the pressure, okay? While you do that, you always drop the inside shoulder. So if you want to make a counter bend to the left, it's really okay to use your inside leg. But if I want to keep that shoulder up, okay, and make a turn so the horse still look up and down while he make the turn, and I'm not reaching the ground and I can pick up sand out of it because he leaned too much into it, okay, I cannot use my outside leg to make the turn. Now I'm a little bit ahead of myself because I'm talking about legs rather than hands. I pay $60 for that pair of rein. And you guys bet that I'm going to use every penny I invest in it. I'm not going to throw them away. I'm going to make a contact, which for many, many, many years I felt that's guilty every time I pulled the rein. I shook quarter horses for many years, and I knew that if you drop your rein, oh boy. If I drop the rein and then pick it up, somebody say, oh boy, look at him. He rides with a lot of contact. So I stayed away from it for many, many years until I got myself into riding an up-headed horse. Up-headed horse, you cannot ride on a loose rein. What you can ride up-headed horse is by taking all the slack out of the rein. You don't need to pull on it. But you got to make a contact between your fingers to the end of the rein, which connect to the snaffle or to the shank pit. So when I want to say something to the horse, I want to feel that right here, that I pick up the slack and I feel a touch. That's the end of it, okay? And that's mean that I took all the slack out of the rein. I don't need to pull, I don't need to get over bridle with that horse, I don't need to jam my head, but I pick up the slack in the rein. Now that $60 rein, you better look at it, because this one is only $20, and this one is my $40 rein. And the reason for it is because I use this one more than I use that one. My direct rein, okay, is the one that I use more often than my indirect rein, especially when I start a new colt. My direct rein always tells the horse where I want him to go. I want him to go to the left, I want him to go to the right. That's the only thing I do with my rein. I do not turn my horse with my rein. Because if I turn the horse with my rein, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my haunches away from the circle. Every time you pick up that rein and you turn that nose to the inside and you ask for forward motion, what you're going to get, the haunches drifting to the outside. Okay? So what I'm doing here, I'm just telling him go to the left, okay, and ride him forward. That's all what you need to do. Tell him where and drive forward. Now the drive forward, you know, that's forward motion, okay? I love to teach them to go forward, okay, into the turn. because the horse needs to overcome that brake you put on him by turning his nose, okay? Right here, if I pull more, I'm going to lose the hunches. But if I ride him forward, okay, I can accomplish something very simple. As I want to turn left, I touch that left rein. That's all what I got to do. Touch that left rein and say, come on, guy, go forward, all right? And if you notice that my forward motion, okay, it's go with the flow. So from the first day I get on my horse, I start riding every stride. Every stride. What that means? That means that if I want him to move forward, okay, I just want him to move one stride. And if I want to do 2 strides, okay, I go 1 stride, and then I go another stride, and then I keep going like that. If I want to stop, I stop it before he takes the next step. So the idea behind what I'm talking about here, okay, use your head for your hand for simple signals. I got to tell you something about signals. It's going to take you probably another 20 minutes to understand my language. But once you get it, you never want to let go of it. Especially if you have a horse in training with me. The idea behind people who speak funny is that they get paid more. Every time I squeeze that rib cage, okay, I'm storing energy. I'm storing energy that I can use to go here, here, there, there. So I use that energy, okay, to propel the horse to go forward. Now it's the same thing that when I want, not yet. See how they get it. You already know that we're going to go back. That's what I'm saying, teach them, okay. The mind is a great idea, but when they start anticipate, okay, you better start thinking in a different language. I want him to go back, okay, without reading my mind. So what I do is, rather than read my mind, I pick up the rein, all right? I'm still sitting neutral. Now, the next thing I know, I pick up the slack in the rein, I get my legs forward rather than backwards, okay? What happened? The minute you move your legs forward, okay, you're losing the support of your seat by dropping down. So if I move the legs here, I got more weight in the center of my saddle. So the rein, not yet. The rein, sit. And you really think it's funny, huh? It took me 3 years to teach him not to do so.
Yeah, well, well, when this was first conceived of, I think Mr. Perry's idea was to do a clinic stressing the training of the horse from birth to an advanced level. But I think the real theme here is the name that we gave it after we thought about it, light hands horsemanship. And I think that we were successful in that regard. I think all 3 of you demonstrated that the use of force and the closed fist is not necessarily the best way to communicate with the horse. Both of you, all 3 of you, have very light hands, and I think that's what Arthur Perry saw in you when he invited you to come here and to do this clinic.
I think all the people who came here really didn't know what light hand means. I think that it's a huge number of people riding with their hands and don't really know what's the function of the hand supposed to be. And I think going home with the information that we provide them, it's going to give them a better understanding of how you control your horse.
I like what you said a couple of days ago about the function of the hands. Would you mind repeating that?
I don't
Dan took the best out
What
of
did I say? Don't ask me things about yesterday.
You said that you don't balance with the hands. The hands, you simply indicate.
Let Duster talk about don't balance on the rein. Come on.
Yeah, well, and I blend in with what you guys do so well, but the hands just being one of the set of the tools, because I remember during John's deal that we were able to talk about, you know, his weights shifting here and his driving aids, you know, his legs are helping the horse move off here, and his hands have prepared and allowed the horse this open door right here so he could step in. So realizing that, you know, we don't necessarily grab our horses and do all of our communicating like a tool user that we want to be, but we can use all the life in our bodies. Our mind, our thought, our proprioceptive changes, our weight, our driving legs, our stomach muscles, back muscles, leg muscles, shoulders, and then the hands, they can be super light because the total horse is not relying on our total hand for communication.
You know, some of us has the idea about the light hand supposed to be throw the rein away. And you see a lot of people riding with the 4 feet slack in the rein, and they think, well, okay, I got a light hand.
No contact at all.
Right, but then they really not accomplish what we try to preach here in those 3 days, because what we want is the horse respond to signals, to cues that got to transfer from your hands to the bed. When you got 8 feet of wire going between you and the bed, okay, you never going to get there. So I guess there was a lot of common sense that we sent home with those people. I bet that each one of them will go home and try to get into it quick as they can, and I hope that that little seed that we plant in each one of the people who showed up here is going to grow to something a lot bigger. What do you think, John?
I feel it was a great approach to what we did with the birth to maturity. I don't think anybody's ever done that before, and I felt that even with the presentation on imprinting, the whole theme with the light hands, even through that, through the coal starting, through the cross training, through the advanced training, I think the whole idea was phenomenal. I really do.
One thing I like the light hands concept is even working on the line in the pen from the ground.
Yeah.
You've always got that delicate touch and slack in the line.
Well, that's where it starts right there. If we're gonna pick up on a lead rope and try to drag them around, when we get on them, we're gonna have to drag them around just the same. So.
You know, there is another thing that we maybe just kind of touch, and there is a lot of people who think that when you write English, you gotta write with contact, and when you write horseman, you can throw them away. And I think that we prove that you can do either way.
Absolutely,
okay?
it's
and
the same
still
animal.
Accomplish absolutely. The difference between the English and the Western is just what you wear and what you ride on. And other than that, it's all the same. So don't be afraid to pick up the rein. I remember for so many years I was feeling guilty every time I make a contact. And now I feel that when I make a contact, the horse listens to me. The horse responds to cues that I use my leg, my seat, and my mind in a way. Without the hands, you cannot really accomplish what you try to accomplish.
The difference between severe use of the rein and what you demonstrated, the light hands horsemanship, it's achieving what you want to achieve, the use of force versus persuasion. Because when you suggest with the rein, that's persuasion. The horse does what it wants to do because it feels more comfortable versus you will do that.
I like to think of it as an open door as opposed to a closed door. We put the energy and put the idea and put our thoughts into the horse with everything we can, and then we open the door and let them come into our hands. We open that. We're not ever shutting it off. Now, I might shut it off if I want the horse to go laterally or collected. I might suppress it a little bit, but the horse always feels like he's got the opportunity to come into my hands. Even though it may look like the reins have solid contact, there's still enough softness through my arm and through my hand and through my wrist that he feels like I can trust the rider's hand no matter what. Even though the weight and the driving aids are saying go forward, go laterally, go collectively, he says, yeah, even though he has a hold, even though he has contact, it's still a real light contact that I can trust.
Yeah.
And so there's an open door there.
And one other point I want to make, and by then I probably will finish with my speech, is that by watching Laster ride the gray horse, by observing Jon's technique and listen to Dr. Miller talking about the imprint and the early training, I learned a lot.
Oh man, me too.
I learned so much in the last 2 days that
Me too.
I didn't accomplish for years.
Yeah, it was phenomenal for me to
Right.
be
And I
a
think
part of that.
Yeah, and I think that we need to remember that all the time, that we don't know that much.
Yeah.
And as long as we're willing to learn, I guess that we can grow.
Well, one thing I've learned since I started teaching, most of which has been since I retired from veterinary practice, is that the best way to learn is to teach.
That,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't have a choice. You just need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get in trouble.
Well, if nobody else walked away with anything here, I sure did. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
well worth it for me.
That's a
Yeah,
good
me
deal.
too.
Okay, let's change leads.
Well, you know, I don't have the flexibility in this hawk that you guys do. There was a famous trainer, real humble but very famous trainer in Germany, and he's quoted often now, but he said that it takes us a while to realize that a lifetime isn't long enough to learn everything about a horse.
See,
Yeah.
I thought when you
Yeah.
started it, I thought you'd talk about me.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. That's a different quote. But this is public TV. so-
Okay, I guess it's time. I guess it's time to quit, isn't it?
Not only are these individuals professionals and trainers in their own right, but they are all students as well, committed to a lifelong process of learning and honing their skills, and then sharing them with other horsemen in the pursuit of total excellence in horsemanship. Visit the Light Hands Horsemanship website for announcements on the next symposium, or always feel free to contact any of the individuals which participated in the event. They will be pleased to share their knowledge with you and help you achieve your goals and objectives for success in your relationship with your horse. Light Hands Horsemanship, a lifelong commitment to excellence in communication.